Imagine this. It's late at night. You're standing alone, phone in hand, the glow of the screen lighting up your face. But the message you've been waiting for never comes. There's someone out there. You know they still think about you, maybe even dream about you, yet they don't reach out. In that quiet moment, you find yourself wondering, is there something about me that's not enough? Or is there something inside them stronger than what they feel for me? The answer isn't on the surface. It's hidden deep inside in the darkest corners of the human soul, what Carl Jung called the shadow, the rejected part of ourselves that silently controls us from the unconscious. We grow up being told that if someone loves you, they'll come for you. They'll do whatever it takes to be by your side. But reality is harsher. There are people who love you deeply, yet they pull away. Their feelings don't just disappear. It's just that their inner fears are louder than their desire to be close. Have you ever been there? Ever felt someone's warm gaze only to watch them suddenly turn cold and walk away? Jung once said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. In that silent distance, both your shadow and theirs awaken at the same time. Did you know when someone thinks of you, dreams of you, but doesn't come to you, it's not indifference? It's a sign of a battle raging inside them? Maybe they sense a gentleness in you they've never allowed themselves to touch. Or maybe your closeness stirs old wounds they've tried so hard to bury. The more you try to make sense of it with logic, the more stuck you feel. Because this story isn't playing out on the level of conscious thought, but in the deep layers of the unconscious, where unhealed wounds, fears, and twisted beliefs live. That's why, by understanding how the shadow, the unconscious, and the process of individuation work, the very things Jung explored, you can stop blaming yourself for the silence. Instead, you can see that distance as a clue pointing you back to yourself. In the next part of this video, it'll guide you deeper into the psychological maze Jung mapped out. Why can unhealed memories cause someone to lose themselves the moment they feel love? How can you recognize if you too are seeking love out of emptiness instead of freedom? And most importantly, how can you stop turning someone else's silence into a verdict on your worth? Stay with me, because when you understand this unconscious mechanism, you won't just heal old wounds. You'll open the path to real love, where two people meet each other whole, not as a way to fill each other's voids. When someone misses you but doesn't reach out, the first thing that might pop into your mind is confusion. What did I do wrong? How can they think about me? Dream about me, yet not take a single step closer? That question weighs heavy on your heart and leaves your mind spinning. But don't rush to blame yourself, because the answer lies deeper than any excuse. It's hidden in their shadow. Carl Jung once said, everyone carries a shadow. The less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. Fears that go unseen, unacknowledged, and unhealed from the past can make someone retreat, just as their feelings for you become real. They're terrified that true closeness will shatter the mask they've worn to protect themselves. Ironically, the moment you touch the softest part of them is also when they panic the most. Imagine a child growing up in a chaotic family where love was tied to punishment or came with strings attached. For that child, love equals risk. They grow into adults carrying the memory that love hurts and unconsciously turn every close relationship into a potential threat. When someone like you appears bringing a sense of connection, it touches the deepest part of them, the longing to be loved, but also the fear of inevitable loss. That's when a silent battle begins. One part of them wants to run toward you while another pulls them back. On the outside, they might seem calm or even cold, but inside their mind is in turmoil. As Jung pointed out, the clash in the unconscious between the desire to love and the fear of getting hurt creates a conflict they can even understand themselves. They can't give you an answer because they haven't figured it out for themselves. That's the tragedy for so many people. They don't walk away because they've stopped caring, but because they're terrified their own feelings will consume them. Love to them is like fire. It can warm them, but it also threatens to burn down the walls they spent years building. What's even more painful is that you, the one left behind, often turn their silence into a false conclusion. I'm not good enough. I'm unworthy of love. In that moment, the shadow doesn't just operate inside them. It starts to haunt you too. You punish yourself, lower your own worth, and assume their absence proves something is wrong with you. Jung called this projection. We project our fears and negative beliefs onto reality. Have you ever thought if they really loved me, they'd stay? But did you know that belief might come from your own childhood wounds, where you learned that you had to try your hardest to keep someone close in order to feel worthy of love? The moment you ask yourself, what inside me needs them to come closer so I can feel valuable, that's when the journey of healing begins. And it's not an easy path because it requires you to look directly at your own shadow. Jung once said, one does not become whole by focusing on the light, but by facing the darkness. Sometimes the distance someone creates is a cruel but necessary gift, forcing you to confront your own fears, the fear of loneliness, of being unseen, of not being enough. See, the issue isn't just with them, it's also in how you respond. Are you living like a wounded child, desperately wanting someone to come heal you? Or can you be conscious enough to look into that emptiness and ask yourself, can I give myself the tenderness and recognition I'm seeking from someone else? When you start to truly see yourself, you'll realize that someone else's silence no longer has the power to drag you into despair. Instead, you'll see clearly everyone has a shadow, and not everyone is ready for deep love when they're still afraid of themselves. You're not alone on this journey. Share in the comments below. Have you ever experienced silence from someone you believed still had feelings for you? What was the biggest emotion you felt during that time? What did you do to come back to yourself? By opening up, you not only heal yourself, but also help others who are hurting feel understood. Let's build a community where we can grow together, share and rediscover our true worth. In the next part, we'll dive deeper. How do childhood wounds create self-protection mechanisms that make people run from love? And more importantly, how can you break free from this unconscious cycle to love from a place of wholeness? Not fear. Don't miss it, because once you understand the roots, you'll know how to rewrite your own love story. In the moment someone you love pulls away, leaving you in an ambiguous silence, it can feel like your mind is swept up in an emotional storm. 3 common yet destructive reactions often surge forward. Self-blame, believing you're at fault, and clinging desperately. These responses don't just deepen your pain, they create an unconscious cycle that makes you repeat the same hurt in the future. Self-blame. You ask yourself over and over, did I say something wrong? If I'd been more patient, would they have stayed? Do I deserve to be left because I'm not good enough? This kind of thinking erodes your self-esteem. It turns love into a courtroom where you're always on trial and their silence becomes the evidence convicting you. Jung once pointed out, when consciousness cannot make sense of chaos, it tries to rationalize, and the first victim is ourselves. Finding fault in yourself. Many don't stop at self-blame. They go further, convinced they must change to become worthy. They start trying to morph into someone else, forcing themselves to smile more, pretending to need less, even abandoning their passions or values to please the other person, even when that person is already gone. This is a form of disconnection from yourself. When you believe you need to be perfect to make someone stay, you forget that real love never demands you sacrifice who you are. Blind clinging. Some people, instead of stepping back to heal, dive into desperate attachment, sending endless messages trying to run into them, or obsessively scrolling through their social media for hours, dissecting every story or status for a sliver of hope. But these actions make you emotionally dependent. You hand over your happiness to someone who's no longer willing or able to hold it. Jung wrote, when we abandon our inner center, we surrender ourselves to the chaotic currents of the outside world. These mistaken reactions all stem from a deep-seated fear. Fear of not being loved, fear of being alone, fear that someone's absence means you're unworthy. But when you let fear take the wheel, you fall into a vicious cycle. The more you cling, the more they pull away. The more you blame yourself, the more you're consumed by doubt. The more you change yourself to please them, the more you lose your own identity. To break this cycle, you must first understand their withdrawal does not define your worth. It reflects their own inner battle, not who you are. If they're not ready to face their own shadow, no one, including you, can save them with love alone. Trying to change yourself to keep them only takes you further from your individuation, the sacred process Jung described of becoming your true self, not a distorted version born from fear of abandonment. Imagine if you keep holding on, you'd be placing your heart in the hands of someone incapable of receiving it. The result can only be exhaustion. But if you dare to pause, dare to look into your own fear, you'll slowly regain your inner strength. Then you'll see your value doesn't depend on who comes or goes. It comes from knowing yourself and being able to embrace your wounds with kindness. If you've ever blamed yourself after someone went silent, share your story in the comments below. Tell us what you felt, what you thought, and what you realized. By opening up, you can help others see they're not alone. Let's give each other strength because we, those willing to look inward, are a community of growing souls. In the next part, I'll help you dive deeper. Why do childhood fears of loss turn into desperate clinging in adulthood? And how can you move from unconscious reactions to conscious choices so you attract love, not from lack, but from wholeness? Don't miss it, because only by understanding the root can you step out of the cycle and find true freedom in love. One of the hardest truths to accept in relationships is this: sometimes people pull away, not because they've stopped caring, but because they're afraid of losing themselves. This fear is subtle, hard to recognize, yet it can destroy even the most beautiful connections. And if you don't understand its root, it's easy to think they're cold or insincere. Carl Jung pointed out, the immature ego fears merging with another as it still clings to the illusion of control. This is the root of the fear of losing oneself in love. When a relationship grows deeper, they sense the danger of being swept away terrified. They'll stop being themselves if they let their feelings lead. Specific signs of the fear of losing oneself: avoiding commitment. They keep postponing serious steps like moving in together, meeting family, or even defining the relationship with, "What are we?" If you bring it up, they'll say things like, "Everything's fine. Why do we need labels?" Using busyness as an excuse. Suddenly they're swamped with work, too exhausted to meet or need time to focus on themselves. But these aren't objective reasons. It's their unconscious way of creating distance to escape the feeling of being tied down. Cold or distant behavior. They respond half-heartedly, give short replies, and rarely check in on you. Their actions leave you wondering, did I do something wrong? But in reality, it's their fear building a wall. These behaviors slowly erode your trust in the relationship, even though they still have feelings, but are haunted by the fear of disappearing into love. What they don't see is that the distance they create is exactly what ends up destroying the connection. Carl Jung said, our shadow holds not only the fear of being hurt, but also the fear of being absorbed. This means someone can love deeply, yet still fear closeness, worrying it will suffocate their freedom or erase their identity. If as a child they saw a parent lose themselves in a relationship, becoming dependent or controlled, their unconscious learns, love means losing yourself. That's why the closer they get to you, the more dangerous it feels. Their defense mechanisms kick in, pushing them to pull back, make excuses, or act indifferent. The danger of this fear is that it traps them in a limbo, never fully leaving, but never moving forward. And if you don't understand what's happening, you can get stuck in that ambiguity, emotionally drained and eventually exhausted. So what should you do? Don't try to force them to change, only they can face their own shadow. Instead, focus on coming back to yourself. Build a strong inner foundation so you won't get pulled into their push and pull dynamic. When you stand firm in your own worth, you won't need to cling, nor will you fear being left behind. If you've ever loved someone who kept making excuses, avoided commitment, or became distant as things got more intimate, share your story in the comments. By opening up, you won't just find relief for yourself, you'll help others see they're not alone. Together, we're creating a community of understanding where everyone can learn to love without losing themselves. In the next part, I'll help you explore, why do silence and distance trigger deep memories that cause you to overreact? And how can you stop turning someone else's silence into a reason to destroy your own sense of worth? Don't miss it, because once you grasp this, you won't just heal the past. You'll rewrite how you love in the future. In love, the hardest part isn't finding someone who makes your heart race. It's knowing whether you love them from a place of inner freedom or from an unhealed void inside you. Because if you love from a place of lack, that love can easily turn into dependence, clinging or hoping the other person will save you. On the other hand, if you love from inner freedom, love becomes a conscious choice, one where two people can grow together without needing to hold each other hostage. Carl Jung once said, "You cannot truly love if you still see love as a way to complete yourself." So how can you tell if your feelings come from lack or from inner freedom? Signs you're loving from lack. You fear losing them so much that you can't focus on yourself, always worrying, if they leave, I'll fall apart. You constantly adjust your emotions and behavior to please them, even if it means betraying your own values. You need constant contact texts, calls, reassurance, or else you feel anxious and doubtful. You feel like you need them to feel whole to make life meaningful. These signs show that your love is built on fear rather than genuine connection. You're searching for someone to fill a void instead of sharing your inner abundance. This is love from lack, and if you don't recognize it, you can get trapped in a cycle of chasing people who aren't ready or getting stuck in dramatic, unstable relationships. Signs you're loving from inner freedom. You love them while still staying engaged with your own life passions and interests. You don't fear losing them to the point of losing yourself. You know you'll be okay, even if the relationship doesn't work out. You don't rely on them for constant reassurance. You feel your worth comes from within. You're willing to communicate honestly, to express your needs and boundaries without fear of abandonment. Love from inner freedom keeps you from becoming someone desperate for affection. You understand that love isn't a relationship meant to complete you, but a space where two whole people can grow, share, and walk together. This is the only foundation for a stable, healthy relationship. Carl Jung emphasized, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. In love, he noted, when the shadow remains unseen, we look for in others what we haven't given ourselves. So if you recognize you're loving from lack, don't beat yourself up. Instead, see it as a chance to reflect. What emptiness inside me am I hoping someone else will fill? Only by daring to ask this question can you begin your journey of individuation, healing unconscious wounds so you can love like a free whole person. Are you in a relationship where you're unsure whether your feelings come from love or loneliness? Have you ever realized you love someone only because you were afraid of being alone? Share your thoughts or experiences in the comments. With your honesty, we can build a community of people brave enough to face their own shadows in order to find the light within. In the next part, I'll show you practical ways to affirm your self-worth, break free from emotional dependency, and attract love that comes from wholeness, not fear. Don't miss it because this shift can transform the way you love and are loved. When someone thinks of you every night, when memories of you crash into their mind like unexpected waves, yet they still don't come closer, it's easy to spiral into self-blame. What did I do wrong? Am I not good enough? But Carl Jung reminded us people rarely act from pure logic. We're often driven by a maze of unconscious wounds and unnamed fears. In that hidden space, love isn't just a beautiful feeling, it becomes a battlefield of shadows. In reality, the distance they keep isn't necessarily proof they don't care. It could reflect an intense inner struggle between their desire for closeness and their fear of getting hurt. They love, but loving means taking off the armor they've worn for so long. For someone who grew up where love was tied to pain, closeness can feel like a knife cutting open old wounds. We can step into someone else's unconscious, nor can we force them to grow faster than their own inner timeline allows. But what we can and must do is ask ourselves, why do I need them to stay so I can feel worthy? It's not a comfortable question, but it's the key to the path back to yourself. That's when you begin to see the deep insecurity in your own heart, seeds planted long ago, maybe in childhood, when parents were too busy or critical, teaching you to associate love with having to fight for attention. Jung described mature couples not as two fearless, perfect people, but as two individuals conscious enough to see and take responsibility for their own fears. They don't run, don't blame, and don't use love to fill a void. They love to share, to walk together, to grow side by side. In a healthy relationship, you don't constantly feel anxious or euphoric. You feel peace even during disagreements. You can say, I need some time to process my feelings without fearing abandonment, and the other person can respond, I'm here when you're ready. So how do you get there? First, realize that every relationship mirrors the one you have with yourself. If you fear being left, you'll cling. If you believe you're not enough, you'll seek others to validate your worth. But when you become your own greatest source of love, you stop fearing the loss of anyone. Love becomes a gift you offer, not a debt you demand. And if you're currently in a quiet stretch with someone staying silent, use this time to reconnect with yourself. Don't chase explanations from them. Listen to your own insecurity and embrace it as something that needs healing. Doing this not only frees you, but also prepares you for a future relationship where you and your partner don't need to save each other, but simply choose to walk together as two free souls. I'd like to invite you to share in the comments, have you ever felt avoided by someone you knew still had feelings for you? Share your story, not just to let it out, but to see you're not alone. Together, we're building a community of people brave enough to face their inner shadows and find their own light. And if you felt this message resonate with you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video. In the next part, we'll explore Jung's explanation of fated love, why we're drawn to people who seem born to activate our old wounds. Stay tuned because your journey of self-discovery is just beginning. Dear friend, if you've stayed with me to this very moment, your heart is probably carrying lingering question, like each late-night sigh echoing inside you. Am I truly worthy of love? Will someone ever see my value? But Carl Jung once said, do not ask others to give you what you have not yet dared to give yourself. Because every answer you seek isn't out there, but within you, in the courage to face your own shadows, in the acceptance of the vulnerable parts you've tried to hide. Remember, someone else's silence never defines your worth. No one can strip away your sense of value unless you hand it over to them. When someone doesn't choose you, it doesn't diminish you, it only reflects where they are on their own soul's journey. They might still be trapped in a maze of fears, unhealed memories, and the best thing you can do is give them space for that process. As for you, instead of lingering in endless waiting, you can choose to come home to yourself by listening to your body, your emotions, and your truest desires. By giving yourself the tenderness, respect, and patience you've longed for from others. That's the first step on the journey to becoming your truest self, a journey that's never easy but always worth it. Jung called this individuation, the spiritual maturation process, where you learn to unite the opposing parts within you, fear and courage, weakness and strength, darkness and light. You come to see you don't need anyone to choose you to prove your worth. True love isn't a bandage for your insecurities, but a meeting of two souls who have each learned to stand on their own. So if you're sitting in the pain of silence right now, I invite you to see it as an opportunity to ask yourself, am I seeking love as a crutch for my loneliness? How long have I neglected caring for myself? Because once you're brave enough to answer, you'll stop fearing breakups, unanswered texts, or someone not coming back. And in that moment, you'll begin to create a new vibration, a frequency of wholeness. And from there, you'll attract relationships that reflect the fullness already inside you. You don't need to be perfect to deserve love, but you do need to learn to love yourself, not so that someone else will come back, but so that you'll never fear losing anyone again. This freedom is the greatest gift you can give yourself. Before we end, I'd love for you to do one small but powerful thing. Comment below this video with a simple phrase. I am whole. This won't just be an affirmation to yourself, but a thread connecting you to others on their healing journeys. By sharing, you let others know they're not alone, and you too receive the energy of shared strength. If this video touched you, I'd be so grateful if you hit subscribe so you don't miss future videos. Here we explore the soul through Jung's lens, uncover forgotten shadows, and learn to love ourselves more deeply. Don't forget to turn on notifications because in the next video, we'll unpack the phenomenon of magnetic attraction, why we feel irresistibly drawn to those who awaken our deepest wounds. I know this journey you're on isn't easy, but I also know you don't have to walk it alone. Let this community be a place where you're heard, supported, and inspired every day. Because as Jung said, only by daring to look into the darkness can we find the light.